The Niger Delta is one of the richest regions in Africa. It is full of winding rivers, mangrove swamps, and thick forests. Long before the Europeans came, the people of the Niger Delta lived by fishing, farming, and trading. Palm trees grew everywhere. From these trees, people produced palm oil. Palm oil was bright red and useful for many things: cooking food, lighting lamps, making body creams, and even in local medicines. Villages thrived, and kingdoms like Boni, Brass, Opobo, and Calabar became powerful centers of trade. For many years, life moved at a steady pace. Families shared what they had, markets were busy, and people lived according to their traditions. In the 1800s, the transatlantic slave trade was slowly ending. Britain and other European countries banned the selling of slaves. But they did not leave Africa. Instead, they wanted new resources. At that time, Europe was going through the Industrial Revolution. Factories needed palm oil for machines, soaps, candles, and food. Suddenly, the Niger Delta became a place of great interest. Palm oil was called red gold. Ships arrived in the Delta, no longer searching for slaves, but for barrels of palm oil. European merchants smiled and shook hands, promising wealth and friendship. The trade did not happen directly between villagers and Europeans. Local chiefs and strong traders became middlemen. For example, the people of Boni, Brass, and Opobo controlled the rivers. Villagers harvested palm oil and carried it in heavy calabashes and barrels to the chiefs. The chiefs then sold it to the Europeans at the coast. At first, this system brought wealth. Chiefs grew powerful and rich. They built big houses, wore fine clothes, and some even sent their children to study abroad. Towns grew bigger and African traders became famous across the coast. But behind the wealth, ordinary villagers began to suffer. They worked endlessly, climbing dangerous palm trees and carrying loads through the swamps. They received little reward while the chiefs and Europeans grew richer. As the years passed, European merchants wanted more oil at lower prices. They began to cheat African chiefs by offering unfair deals. Some chiefs pushed their people to produce more and more oil, punishing those who could not keep up. Villagers worked day and night. The forests that once gave joy now became places of sweat and pain. The Europeans also started bypassing African chiefs, sailing deeper into the rivers to deal directly with villagers. This angered the chiefs and led to wars between rival towns. Not all Africans accepted this exploitation. Some resisted strongly. One of the most famous leaders was King Jaja of Opobo. Jaja was once a slave boy, but rose to become a powerful king. He built the city of Opobo and controlled much of the palm oil trade. King Jaja refused to let Europeans cheat his people. He insisted that trade must be fair and on African terms. The British saw him as a threat to their power. In 1887, they tricked him by inviting him to a peace meeting. When Jaja arrived, he was captured, taken away, and exiled far from his homeland. He never returned. His people mourned him, and his kingdom weakened without his leadership. Another hero was Nana Olomu of Itsekiri, who also resisted British interference in the palm oil trade. He fought to protect his people's right to control their resources. But like Jaja, he was eventually defeated and exiled. These stories show the courage of African leaders who tried to stand against foreign exploitation. By the late 1800s, European companies and governments wanted more than trade. They wanted control. They forced chiefs to sign unfair treaties, often without explaining what they truly meant. These treaties gave Europeans power over rivers, ports, and lands. When some chiefs refused, the British used gunboats and soldiers to attack towns. The once proud trading cities of Boni, Brass, and Opobo began to lose their independence. European companies now dictated prices and terms. The wealth of the palm oil trade no longer stayed in African hands. The palm oil trade changed the Niger Delta forever. It brought short-term wealth for a few, but long-lasting suffering for many. It weakened local kingdoms and made it easier for Britain to colonize Nigeria by the end of the 19th century. The story of palm oil in the Niger Delta shows both pride and pain. Pride in the courage of leaders like King Jaja and Nana of Itsekiri, who stood for justice. Pain because the people's resources were taken, their leaders betrayed, and their freedoms slowly stolen. Even today, the Niger Delta remains a land rich in oil and natural wealth, but still facing exploitation and struggle, just like in the past.